What is the fifth thing that I would do differently if I were going to college today? I would select a college with a robust international education or study abroad programming office. And I would use my undergraduate years to complete my travel goals. Hi, my name is Passion Darby, and over the next month, I am going to be sharing with you 31 things that I would do differently if I were going to college today. About 31 years ago, almost to date, I decided as an 18-year-old girl that I was going to go to college that fall no matter what, and that was the fall of 1993. So here we are, 31 years later, and I have a vast amount of information, wisdom, and experience that I want to share with you. And this is part of that. So I have a lot to say on this topic because this has actually been the most enjoyable part of my college experience. When I was going to college for my freshman year, I did not even know that colleges provided opportunities to travel abroad to different countries or study abroad to different countries. So, of course, I didn't even think to ask my college if it offers such opportunities because to be honest with you, I was just grateful to go away to college. So, just me being outside of my state, of my home state of Illinois, was good enough for me. But I have always had visions and goals to travel around the world since I was a child because of the elementary school that I attended, where I was able to read about different parts of the world on a regular basis. So I always knew that I was going to travel around the world. As I matriculated in my graduate programs, however, I learned that I could actually fulfill my travel goals through college or at that time, my university. But I did not have any idea that this was possible for undergrad, so I did not pursue it in undergrad. In fact, I remember being a senior at Clark Atlanta University and walking down the hallway, and I saw this sign for Fulbright programs, and I was drawn to that sign so much so that I stood there and I read it for quite a while. And I said to myself, I'm going to do that program one day. Now, while today my goals are not necessarily to be a Fulbright any longer, at least not a Fulbright student recipient. But I definitely went on to pursue my travel goals in other through other means. So, for instance, as a student at my most recent university, I made a goal when I first arrived, having learned what about to share with you all. I said to myself, I didn't know what I know now in undergrad. So now that I'm here in graduate school, I am going to go to all seven continents before I graduate from this 3-year program. That was my goal. And that was I think that I made that goal in 2019. So I began searching for opportunities to do such a thing, and I decided that I was going to go very fast. I wasn't going to let anything stand in my way, and I was going to try to do it in a way that allowed me to still be successful as a student, because of course I was a student first, and there's no point in me doing these programs if I do not graduate or do well academically. So I made that goal, and the first trip that I went to was I chose Europe first because I had already been to Africa, in fact. So, but we'll talk about that another time. But I chose Europe first, and I chose Italy for Europe, and I went on a 2-week program for that. And then shortly thereafter, I think maybe 3 months thereafter, I chose Asia, and I went to China for that goal. I studied abroad in China all through my university. A year, maybe, no, not a year, maybe 7 months after I came back from China, I went to Africa under the guise of this particular goal. I had already traveled to Egypt as well as Ghana, and I had just come back from living in Ghana. But I chose Morocco for this goal regarding Africa. Then the following month, maybe 3 weeks later, I went to Australia as an independent study student through my university. And so that was my fourth continent. Then, ironically, I would say 3 weeks after I returned from Australia, the pandemic began and no one could travel. So my goal was put on hold for a long while. And I did not travel for 2 years, I think. Then 2 years after that, I jumped right back on my goal after the pandemic cleared up a bit. And I went to Mexico with my other graduate school that I was connected with at the time. So that was what is it? Experiential learning program. That's what they called it. And then, so that was North America. And then this past January, in January 2023, I traveled to Ecuador to do an alumni travel program through my former university. And so that was South America. So the only continent I did not get to in time for graduation was Antarctica, but I'm going. I have a plan B as always. And I did not get to South America in time because I just went in January and I actually graduated from my previous program in August 2022. So the pandemic threw me off a bit. But what I was thinking is that, wow, what if I had known about these opportunities when I was an undergrad? Then I would not be, first of all, I would have missed the pandemic because the pandemic just occurred. And I went to undergrad between 1993 and 1998. And also, I would have not had to juggle so many things, such as um, being a graduate student with three graduate minors and also working at the same time 20 hours per week, and also working as a freelance editor and writer. So I had a lot going on while I was trying to reach this goal and do this goal with excellence. I also did research while I was in some of these countries, so that in itself was challenging. But if I had done it in undergrad, I would not have had financial obligations. I would not have had the graduate schedule that I just completed. My undergraduate schedule was so much lighter and so much more free in terms of time commitment. So I would have had a different experience. And also, I I found it difficult to locate short-term programs while as a graduate student. I also ended up on a couple of trips with a whole bunch of undergraduates, and I was already in my 40s, so that wasn't always the best interactions because they were much younger than me, but I had this goal, so I was traveling for a particular focus, and they had their own focus, so sometimes that didn't mesh well. So I think that if I had a plan in undergrad, I would not have run into those challenges. And then finally, had I gone in undergrad, I think that my global travels would have opened my eyes sooner to other cultures, and it also would have increased my global competency or global competence much sooner than it did. And I would have been able to leverage my global studies on my resume over the last 25 years since I graduated from college. So now I notice that now that I have all of this global experience on my resume, that is the first thing that potential employers ask me about. They are very excited about my travels, and it does make me stand out as a candidate. So imagine if I would have had that at my disposal and for my use 25 years ago when I first graduated. I would have that would have really benefited me. So, how can you learn a lesson from what I would have done differently? I have a few tips for you. So, let's get started with that. So, if you are actually leaving for college in the fall or going to college, One thing that you can do, and if you haven't already selected your institution, or if you have few that you're choosing from, take the time to study their study abroad programs or their international education programs. Call You can call each one, or you can simply go on their websites and see what their offerings are. And if those offerings align with something that you're interested in. So you can also call their office and ask to speak to a study abroad advisor and see how they treat you and how they handle your goals. Because one of the things that I did notice when I was talking to some people, particularly being a woman, a Black American woman, I got some, oh, this is just, she's a dreamer, or um, they didn't sometimes they didn't take my goals seriously, and they didn't plan my itinerary as well as they had planned other students, because maybe they did not believe that I would go, or that I had the money to go. So there was some biases in that, and so you want to make sure that they're going to treat that particular office is going to treat you well, and that they are going to take your they can call them dreams or you can call them goals, but they should be taking whatever you come to them with regarding your international education plans seriously. So test them out before you select them, and make sure that they offer the programs that you actually want, and that they're going to guide you through the international education process with dignity and class. The next thing is you can also make a list of the international education plan and research the college offerings, and make sure that those offerings can be utilized during your enrollment. So, for instance, I aimed for programs that were 2 to 3 weeks long, because I knew as a graduate student I could not go abroad at that time for a year, a whole academic year. Now that I finished, I'm actually am planning to go abroad for a whole academic year to an academic program soon. But at that time, I could not, because I had my own major and 3 graduate minors, and I really needed to be on the ground for the most part while I was in my previous program. But as an undergraduate, you don't need that. You don't always need to be on the ground. So you can ask them, you can research and ask the study abroad advisors what their offerings are, what are the lengths of these programs, and make sure that they can fit your actual plan. Number three, schedule the offerings that align with your plan to make sure that you can achieve it during your enrollment in a balanced and non-stressed way. This is very important. You do not want to be stressed out. Like I just shared with you, when I came back from Morocco, 3 weeks later, I left for Australia, where I did a major research project that was later published. That was very stressful for me. I was exhausted. And even though I had a great time in both locations, I would have preferred to do it non-tired. So I advise you to make sure that you can achieve your goals without exhausting yourself. Another thing that you can do is start a business while you are in college, as I spoke about earlier in this series, in order for you to support your travel without having to take out student loans. So, had I done this while I was an undergrad, I probably would have been taking out student loans because I didn't know any better. But now you can take my advice and know better. If you know you want to do some international traveling while in college, figure out a way to pay for them by either starting your own business, your own small business while in college, or working so that you can have that income. You can also consider find other financial aids such as scholarships and some grants as well. Those are available. Number five, I would focus my attention on short term international opportunities so that you can get more out of it. Out of the experience. So you can go during winter break, you can go during spring break, you can go during summer break, and then um, knock out more locations using those tactics. Number six, talk to an advisor at your prospective college and ask them which academic year do they think that you can go abroad without stifling your progress towards graduation. So when I say advisor, this time I mean your academic advisor. So ask them to lay out your 4-year undergrad plan and say, which one of these years do you think that I can just take a year off and go abroad, and then move accordingly. And then number 7, make a goal that is special to you, an international education or study abroad program, study abroad goal that's special to you. So for me, my goal was special because I wanted to travel to all 7 continents before graduating. What is your special goal? Do you want to learn a certain language? Do you want to visit your heritage land? Do you want to visit a certain population of people? Do you want to do some research? Do you want to visit a monument or a World Heritage Site, which is something I do every time I travel? So figure out what your special goal is and center your international education plan for undergrad around that particular goal. So those are some things that you can do so that 31 years from now, you will not be making videos saying what you could have done differently if you were going to college today. So comment below and let me know where you want to travel. If you have any ideas right now where you think you might want to travel during your college years, your undergrad years, or even your graduate years. And if so, like I said, comment below and I will check those comments out. Tomorrow, I will be talking about thing 6, what I would do differently if I were going to college today. So please consider subscribing and also go to college. Thank you for listening.